Renee, do you know if the Avery man is he looking for us to give him comments tonight or later? Do you know?
He's going to do a presentation.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, it almost looked like he was looking for suggestions.
No,
You don't think so?
he's going to be talking about like
What they're thinking of doing. Okay. All right.
All right, you ready to go, folks? Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's nice to see a full house. Apparently with standing room only. That's amazing.
Room up front.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock and we're calling our meeting to order. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Wendell moved, second. Widener or Barry, take your choice as the second. All in favor of adoption of the agenda, say aye.
All right.
Any against, say nay. Please turn down your cell phones. And make sure that your microphones are on, council. Mr. Holloman, would you like to do the invocation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just bow our heads. Lord, we come before you today humble, and Lord, we thank you, Lord, for all the blessings. We thank you, Lord, for the great holiday season we had here on Beech Mountain, and for all those who visited our town. Lord, we ask that you lead and guide us in this new year. We have the council retreat coming up, and we ask your guidance and helping with that through the planning process for the upcoming year, and your blessings upon this meeting, and also the upcoming planning, comprehensive planning and strategic planning Avery County is doing. We ask this in your name. Amen.
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 Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On our consent agenda, we have the minutes from December 11th, 2018, Fire Department contract, and a budget amendment request from Public Works. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So move.
Wendell moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Barry second. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The consent agenda has been accepted. Okay, we have public comments. For those that are not familiar with public comments, you have 5 minutes to speak. At 4.5 minutes, I'll give you an indication that you need to wrap it up. I will shut you off at 5 minutes. On the first, and then if you come up to the podium, please say your name and your address for Tamara, our town clerk, please. Wilson King.
Wilson King, 405 Beech Mountain Parkway, right next door. I'm going to talk fast because I got 2 things to say, and I don't want you to have to pull out your shepherd's hook.
Don't
and
make
pull me out. First, I understand you guys are going to talk about a leash ordinance, and I must say that I'm fairly ambivalent about that. Although in the old days we all laughed and said we were from a small town. We knew we were from a small town because we knew all the dogs by their first name. Those were good times. Since that time, people have decided to drive faster and pay less attention to what they should be doing. They're playing with their cell phones instead of driving. So I do have a fear that dogs get run over. My real concern is cats. Cats are among the most efficient killers on this planet. They're the only species I know that kill for sport and not just food. It's estimated that cats kill almost 3 billion birds, and that's B with a billion, 3 million birds a year, and over 12 billion mammals. Now, these are mostly non-threatening animals who are just trying to make a living. They don't have a chance against cats. So I say if you're going to have to keep dogs up, let's keep cats up. For several years now, topic 2, I've been announcing before the council the names of those people that go missing on us. I did it because I felt like that there are some people who are not so active or not so well known, and they don't deserve to be forgotten. So I have had their names written in the town minutes to memorialize them. One thing is for sure, nobody's going to forget Vern Holland. He was our first mayor. He was therefore here for the genesis of our town. His picture is somewhere among this
Right
Rhodes
behind
gallery.
It will be behind you.
Behind me.
Well, if they did it that early.
But he was also here for the genesis of the Beach Mountain Resort. Most people think when they remember the start of this place that it was all about building a golf course and putting in roads and ski slopes. But the real emphasis was on land sales because that's where the money came from. Vern was here for that as well. They actually hired people from all over hell and half of Georgia to sell land up here. Some were good, some were bad, some were honest, some were dishonest. Vern had to put up with that because he served a term as the head land salesman here. The majority of those people that came through ended up leaving and going somewhere else, which was probably a good idea. Vern stayed. He made this his home. He was a successful businessman. And as I said, he was part of government. Vern was very straightforward. He didn't care to tune me up in a minute, and he didn't think twice about it. He was what the old mountain people referred to as a real character. If I had to pick out one word to describe Vern, and I mean no offense, I always try to preface my first remarks by saying I don't mean to offend, but I often do. But if I had to pick out a word, and this is lighthearted and good-hearted, it's not critical and hopefully not offensive, but I would pick out the word irascible. If you look up the word irascible in the dictionary, and I don't know, does anybody use a dictionary besides me anymore? Most people get everything they need, including their morning coffee, from their cell phone. But I like dictionaries because they have neat little pictures there that tell you what you're looking at. If you look up a pyramid, you see a little pyramid. If you look up Raven, there's a Heckle and Jekyll there looking at you. Well, if you look up irascible in the dictionary, guess what? You're going to see a picture of Vern. If you don't believe me, take a look. If you knew Vern well, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So here's to you, Vern. Peace be with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wilson. Michael Holland? State your name and your address,
All right.
please.
Michael Holland, 209 North Pinnacle Ridge Road. All right. Good afternoon, town leaders. It is a common stereotype that runners and dogs are at odds with one another out in the road. As a runner myself, I'm fortunate to say that I've had very few dog stories in my 10 years of running, with most of the unpleasant encounters taking place out in county roads. I've yet to been bitten by a dog, which is quite amazing, as dogs out on Old Horse Bottom Road and Romanger roads off the mountain tend to be quite aggressive. However, my unbitten streak almost came to an end a few weeks ago, not by an aggressive roamer out in the county, but by a leash dog on Skiway Circle. The aforementioned dog has long been a problem, as it used to run after vehicles and pedestrians unsupervised for years. It was almost impossible to go by the house without looking in your rearview mirror to see if you'd hit the dog. In all fairness, behavior like this makes this dog a poster child for a stricter restraint ordinance. However, that was in the past. Lately, the dog hasn't been running free out in the road, much to the pleasure of drivers and pedestrians alike. This pleasure changed the other day for me, though. As I was running down Skiway Circle, I saw the dog and its owner walking towards me. I was on the opposite side of the road, and as I approached, I could see the dog was at the end of its leash. Rather than reel the dog back in, the owner simply did nothing and just let the dog keep running towards me at the end of its leash. The dog got right up on my ankles, barking and snapping. I continued to run by, and the dog continued to chase after me until the end of its leash was out of my reach. Somehow I was not bitten, but out of all the dog encounters I've had, this was the only one where I had to check my ankles to confirm I wasn't bleeding. I mean no harm towards the Skiway Circle mutt, as it did no harm to me. Rather, I simply wish to use it as an example of a failure of a restraining device. I understand the intent of making animal restraint laws stricter. However, just because a dog has a leash does not mean that it is restrained. The problem does not come from the dog itself, it comes from the owner. A required leash simply becomes a cover-up for an owner who still does not have control over their dog, as what happened in my situation. Requiring restraints will do nothing for inept owners, but it will end up punishing those who have complete control over their dog without needing physical restraint. Instead of passing more regulations that will affect law-abiding owners, why not just enforce the current ordinances more? I feel that the current nuisance ordinance would cover many of the dogs that are targeted by the proposed restraint ordinance. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Michael. Cindy Keller.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
State your name and address, Cindy, please.
Cindy Keller, 100 Village Creek Road. Once again, I am not prepared for this, but I have lots of houses that are. I would like to restate what I said last council meeting, which is, I feel that some of this may be as a resultant of my beasts being at large, but my beasts are pretty harmless. They're just rambunctious, and I happen to believe that a dog's got a right to be a dog, and every now and then a dog needs to go on a walkabout if they are going to be emotionally healthy. I cannot think of any animal, be it dog, cat, deer, humans, that are happy being stuffed in a box or hung by its neck. And I just cannot believe that you folks are considering this as the proper way to deal with one or two possible bad examples. And I very much want to encourage you to take it case by case, issue by issue, and don't punish the innocents.
Thank you, Cindy. Frank Steele. Frank.
Frank, excuse me, Frank Steele, 107 Christie Way. First of all, I would like to thank the council for the opportunity to speak on the leash, but I see you have a public hearing coming up. I've got one other issue. I can save this dog scenario till that if you prefer.
That would be good.
Okay. Because it's tough to follow behind Wilson King. I signed up at the bottom after I saw his name on it, and then all these others were right on every one of you. I have a side issue that I think the town is probably aware of, but if they're not, you need to take a drive to I call it the trash dump or whatever you want to call it. 3 or 4 times during the snow and ice, go over there. Now that I have a 4-wheel drive truck, I can get up and down the roads a little better. I got to tell you, 2 weeks after that snow is gone, I'm still slipping and sliding in craters coming in and out of that area over there that are this deep, this big around. They fill up with water, and then they run over, and then they freeze, and you try to turn in there, and you're sliding. Then you come out after going up the hill and come down, and you got another pot to come. Fix the potholes. Clean that up a little bit. And then, if you have some time left over and a little bit of money, going up into the dump itself, clean it up a little bit. I don't know what the answer to it is. I know we've discussed it, but I've gone in there a couple of times, and I know the holidays exaggerated it, but I got to tell you, if I'd have been anywhere that I wasn't familiar with, I would have wanted 14M, what do they call them, AK-47s. I mean, it just looked like vagrants or something come out. Need a little help on that. Other than that, I'll save my words about the leash till later.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Tim, you got that on a note?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you get a call earlier?
All righty, that's the end of public comments. All right. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing for the animal restraint proposed amendment? Barry moves. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Any against, say nay. Okay, the public hearing is open. Anybody who wishes to come and talk about the leash restraint, Frank, this is where you would do that. What we're going to do is if you do want to speak, you have to come back up. With this microphone situation, and people may be watching us, hello, we want to make sure that everybody can hear who may be watching and streaming. So whenever you're going to speak, even towards the end of the meeting, when we do the comments at the end, you're going to have to come up to the podium and speak so that these people can hear you. So Frank, would you like to come up and do your...
Again, Frank Steele, 107 Christie Way. As you recall, probably, I believe our last meeting, I read an email that I had sent to council. I have a copy of it here if the young lady needs it. I would like to introduce this into the public record of this meeting without reading it again.
Okay.
Just refer to it. And I'd like to reiterate everything that was said here about 1,000 times on steroids that I concur with what was said. And we don't need this dog leash. So therefore, I'm asking this council today to do a complete, if you haven't already done so, complete and comprehensive review and discussion of at least prior 2 years' complaint evidence and enforcement issues related to the issue prior to taking any vote. Now, when I walked in a little earlier today, to my surprise and happiness, Tim, wherever he is, gave me a document. To say I'm shocked would be, I don't know, over the hill. I look at this, and in 5 years, you've only had 8 complaints that dealt with an issue of a dog sniffing, biting, running, chasing an individual, or possibly even a dog. I don't know, but assume they were all individuals. 8 in 5 years. You've had other complaints, as the chief was saying, which is dog barking, maybe a dog running loose or whatever, which is non-life-threatening. It might be to the animal, but you don't need this just based on this alone. And so with that, and knowing that we've been here 40 years as a town, either incorporated or unincorporated, you have leash law, or not leash laws, animal and bird laws and regulations since the early 90s, and as someone who has read every single minute that's ever been posted online going back into the early 90s, I don't recall a single issue with any of this. And having this document that I printed out, which is the existing ordinance, you can even kill a dog with this ordinance. Bites someone or chases someone for 2 times, you can euthanize the dog. I'm not saying I want that. If you wanted to change anything, add a little paragraph that says, under this extreme condition, whether it's with a leash or without a leash, let's assume it's without a leash, have that person with that dog have to restrain that dog in some manner. And if they don't, hold them really liable. But don't make everybody in the community with the good dogs have to do all that. Because you heard independent voices, and I don't know all this issue this young man had, but you know, it was pretty understandable. I know from having dogs as a kid, dogs are a little more aggressive on the leash because they're in a more protective mode than they are when they're not on the leash. They're just out running happy, generally speaking. Exceptions to everything, but don't overdo this. And I mean, I'm saying that with all sincerity. This is not something that needs to be even talked about. And I'm going to close by saying this. Rumor has it, and I don't know who the person is, but a rumor has it that someone on council, might be you, might be Wendell, I don't know who it is, and it doesn't really matter to me who it is, had an issue with Susie's dog, which I just saw here, right here.
I stand with my dog.
Yes, and so do I. And so do I. Whatever that issue is, there's 2 comments I have about that. That has to be a mega isolated incident, because I've gone on and petted this dog 100 times. You know, I see him everywhere. I mean, everybody knows it. There's no issue here. And if this was brought before this council by, I don't know, maybe it was you, whomever it was.
It was me that brought it up.
Okay. And
But it
if it
didn't have
happened to you
anything to do with
personally,
se- no, it
then
didn't
I
have
would
anything
feel.
to do with
it wasn't you.
season.
Okay. I just feel that that's a biased scenario. And if you're going to vote on this, that council member, in my opinion, honestly should recuse themselves. Because it's a very biased and it can't be objective to the rest of the community.
May I address something
Yeah.
that Frank said? Frank, I'm reading this document differently, and if everyone doesn't recall, I've been a hard no on this since it came up, but I think you mispresented that fact. That is 8 times the people have been charged. If you look, there's 134 incidences over that 5 years. So
But-
that's,
no, no,
that-
but what
that's
I'm
a little,
saying-
that's a little misleading when it raises to the level of being charged.
Chief Tim would be better. I asked him those questions. He said, these were the ones that was in the category of chasing, and it says that, chase, snap, and threat.
But I'm reading it
Charged
as
with it.
charged.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, and not
if you
complaints.
get well, for the lack of a better word, a complaint could be noise, a dog,
Okay.
a barking dog, chasing a cat in the street. I mean, I don't know.
I may
I'm
be
just
able to
saying there's-
clarify that partly, because I've talked with Tim about this before. A complaint is just that, a complaint. Calls comes in to dispatch, they have the complaint. When they go out, if they cannot find the dog, they couldn't do anything about the other 2 categories. They have a complaint, but they can't put it in a category and couldn't charge it.
Well, I can understand it. What I'm
Good.
saying is, if I'm looking at an 8 total for these issues, those would be in the major category. That'd be like murder versus me slapping the young lady on the face. It's 2 different things altogether. These statistics, and that's why we have statistics. I'm a drill down numbers guy. Statistics prove more points than any other thing in the world. It's science. And you can bet if there was a lot of this going on, you wouldn't be looking at 0 in 2018, 2 in 2017. I asked for 2 years. I would have had 2 in 2 years. And with 325 voters plus tens of thousands of people that come up here throughout the year, you got to know if you got a problem, it would show up right there.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Anybody else want to talk? Okay, let me see. Jeff had his hand raised, and then we'll go to Gary, and then Susie, and Kelly, do you mind going after that? Okay.
Jeff Fabry, 113 Black Birch Lane. I don't have a dog in this fight.
Literally.
But I do have something to say. If, in fact, the town creates a leash law, it's going to come down to enforcing it. We currently have a number of ordinances on the books that should do an adequate job if they're enforced. So I would suggest that before you take 2 steps to create a new ordinance, because the current ordinances are not being actively enforced, that we at least stop and attempt to enforce our existing ordinances before we add additional ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Gary? Please state your name and address.
I'm Garrett Bithell, we're at 103 Upper Grouse Ridge Road.
Did you get his last name, Tamara? Can you give her your last name again?
It's Berthel, 103 Upper Grouse. As a lot of you know, I walk our Siberian Huskies 7 to 12, 15 miles just about every day around Beach Mountain. Every day. One of my concerns, I've been up here since '95. One of my concerns, your effect, individuals, so am I. Consistently over the years, and recently it's gotten much worse. While I'm walking our dogs on a leash, we have stray dogs consistently come up to our dogs, whether they're with people or whether they're loose. As recently as last night, I was on Pine Creek Road, we saw a tan dog off a leash at the Tamarack and Pine Creek, and then at Charter. The dog came flying up through the woods in between on a vacant lot towards my 2 dogs, or our 2 dogs, that were on a leash. Okay? I hollered at the dog. Fortunately, the dog turned around, and the owner was out in his front yard filling the flat tire in his car. All right? The dog went to him. I don't know how anybody else takes care of their dogs. in this community or any other community. What I do know is how we take care of our dogs. And when I'm walking my dogs restrained, I'm not tolerant of other people's dogs running indiscriminately, whether they be Cindy's, which a year ago, we had 6 people in the car. We had to slam on the brakes about this time of year to avoid hitting her dog. Okay, they ran out in front of us. Now, I could have hit that dog, hurt it, killed it, which I would have been the worst person on the mountain if that happened. Or I could have swerved and injured one of the passengers in the vehicle or damaged the car. All right, which Andy and Cindy would have been culpable for any pain, like any of us would be. There's no reason. I was raised, my father was a veterinarian. I've been around probably more dogs and animals than all of you here in this room. And I've had a couple of hundred Siberian Huskies over the years. So I've been around dogs and animals my entire life. There's no particular venue or reason or justification why a dog, or a cat for that matter, should be allowed to run indiscriminately loose. Christmas Day, I was out walking the 2 dogs again. We were on Staghorn, coming back. 2 dogs on a leash, our 2 dogs on a leash. There was a couple in the woods. They had 4 Portuguese water spaniels. 2 of those dogs ran out of that woods. The man and woman that were with the dog did nothing. 0. Those 2 dogs came. One of them jumped on Beamer, our black and white Siberian Husky, attacked him. The second one attacked Romeo, our gray one. The second one I was able to kick in the side and get him off of Romeo. All right? Those people did not holler, whistle, come running out of that woods to get those 2 dogs. There's no excuse for that. There's no justification for that. If I wanted to push the issue, I did file a police report. If I wanted to push the issue, I could have taken our dog to the veterinarian, which those owners of those animals would have been responsible for paying that vet bill legally. And I could have had an attorney file a report with our homeowner's insurance provider, and you can take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and just Google what happens with homeowner's insurance nationwide when there's an aggressive dog, not just towards a human being, but other animals. They either lose their homeowner's insurance or they turn around and they're raided. Either way, the homeowner ends up losing. Just because somebody is irresponsible or cares so little about containing their dog, or their cat for that matter. A month and a half ago, we were walking down Pond Creek again. There was a German Shepherd, a large one. Somebody that owns a couple of restaurants up here. Their dog was right. This is the 3rd time this has happened, okay, with her dog, German Shepherd, and her pit bull, or Staffordshire Terrier, whatever the case may be. That dog came through the woods. This young lady was standing, as she had the 2 other times, in her door, trying to do what our ordinance currently says. Our animals have to be under voice control, okay, whatever the criteria is for voice control. So she's whistling for her dog. The first 2 times, her 2 dogs ran up to our 2 dogs. One of our neighbors jumped out of the car as a truck as they were driving by and grabbed our dogs, while I helped to restrain her 2 dogs from coming after our 2 dogs that were on a leash, by the way. A month and a half ago, this shepherd comes through the lot behind her house, into the street, public road. My 2 dogs are on a leash. I howl at the dog, tell it to stop. The dog crouches down, puts it, once again, I've been around a lot of dogs, puts his ears back, raises his hackles, and approaches our 2 dogs. I picked up a stick, and I laid it across the bridge of the dog's nose. All right? A 125-pound dog with a 55-pound Siberian Husky, I'm not really interested in getting in the middle of that. All right? Fortunately, that shepherd left. Okay? I don't remotely understand why anyone would want to allow their animals to run loose unsupervised. There's no justification for it. The state of North Carolina has a 1-strike rule. A dog bites a human being 1 time, it's euthanized. That's fact. It's been there for years. There's a town east of Raleigh, North Carolina, where I lived for 40 years, small little community years ago. that folks like myself were pushing for a leash law because there were some stray dogs. And there was one couple that had their dog, the town decided not to implement a leash law. A couple of months later, one of the couples had two of their small dogs in their fenced-in backyard. One of the stray dogs got into that property, killed both those dogs. The owners of the dogs that were killed by that stray dog filed legal action against the owners. They obtained a $9,000 or thereabouts settlement, but they also sued the town because the town did not do the fiduciary responsibility to protect the interests of all the residents of the community, not a handful, all. They won against the town. Less than 30 days after judgment was awarded to the owners of those two dogs, the town had a formal leash law and a barking law. Okay? Now, what municipality or what town wants to have any culpability for the irresponsibility of a pet owner, dog, cat, whatever the case may be, in any jurisdictional venue within the United States? Why? Because somebody is either irresponsible or too lazy to put the dog on a leash and walk it, fence in the backyard. And I realize a lot of properties here are not conducive to fencing the property in. Many of them are. So if you cannot walk your dog, or if you cannot fence in your property, and if you want to let your dog run loose, be responsible, be ethical to your dog, and don't have a dog. Because what benefit are you giving your dog by letting it run loose? With all the wildlife we have in this community, a dog can fall off a rock, injure itself, we'd never know. I've got a breed of dog I've had since 1971. Loves to run as much as anybody's dog up here on Beach Mountain. Siberian Huskies. They're bred to run. Nobody has ever seen any of my dogs loose on this mountain, ever. Because it's disrespectful to the owner, it's disrespectful to the dog, and it's disrespectful to everybody else that dog may come in contact with. And I don't know whether any of you are cognizant of the intellectual level that a mature dog has compared to the age of a human being. Is anybody familiar with that? Anybody?
7 years.
No, it averages between 2 and 4. It's normally between 2 and 4, and on a statistical average, it's equivalent to a 2.5-year-old child. I'm assuming a lot of you have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren in this community that you love and you want to protect. And I'm assuming that you all love your dogs and your cats the same way. So why would you give your child or grandchild breakfast in the morning, give them a hug, or her a hug, and say, go out and play on the top of Beach Mountain, run all over the mountain, play in the streets, and come back when I call you? Would you do that with your child?
Sure, yeah.
You would. So you let your child out here? That's a responsible human being, isn't it? 2.5.
How many of you kids grew up here?
Okay, let's get it in order here. We need to wrap it up.
So, if you're going to be responsible to all parties. We need a leash law, and we need to give the police of the community at least a tool that they can actually enforce. Because voice control is very intrusive. What you deem as the voice control is different than what she perceives it to be, or this gentleman perceives it to be. A leash law is a leash law. Dog needs to be contained. Thank you.
Thank you. Susie?
Could I make just one question?
Go
The
ahead.
gentleman?
I just want to know how many times he's reported that to the police.
I think you indicated one time for sure.
No, I've done it a few times up here.
And nothing happens?
They've gone over, the latest police report we have, which is on Christmas Day, they've gone over to the parties, the individuals, and addressed it. The young lady I talked about on Pine Creek, when I got to the end of Pine Creek, that young lady called somebody, her brother, up at a restaurant here, as Renee understands. 2 cars pulled up, a black truck that's jacked up, pulled in front of me.
All right, that's a different story, and
Okay.
we need to move on.
Okay.
Susie, please come up.
Okay, I'm Susie Nepka. I live on Beach Mountain Parkway. And I understand what the gentleman is saying. I also walk my dog on a leash when I walk in my neighborhood. But I also do not put my dog on a leash when I take him to work with me. I work in the gardens, and he's very good about staying close. He'll greet people. He's a friendly dog. I do want to say that I have heard rumors that, and I mean, it could be fact, and that's what I'm here to find out, whether or not my dog is a problem. And if he is, I will obey a leash law if I have to, and I will put him on a leash when I'm in the gardens. But I find that he's an extremely friendly dog. He just wants to greet people. He wants to say hi. He's not a vicious animal. And I don't feel that a leash law for every dog is needed. But that said, if you all decide that a leash law is needed, I will put my dog on a leash, and he probably will not be as happy and as friendly as he is right now. And that's all I have to say. If somebody does have a problem with my dog, when he is in the gardens, please let me know. Barry, I thank you for, after we had a confrontation, you've been very gracious to let me know when you're there, and I can put my dog up, and I don't have a problem with that. So if anybody does have a problem with my dog, please come to me and let me know. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Susan. Kelly?
So the last one, Kelly Malang, Charter Hills Road. Mr. Holland had a really good point that I just wanted to reiterate. My dog stays on my property. She's a little 10-pound ball of fluff, and that she doesn't really go anywhere. But there was a person that was walking 2 other dogs that attacked my dog on my property that cost me $3,000 because I never found the person. So irresponsible owners should be the people that we should be targeting, not dogs that are happy and well-adjusted where they are. Thank you,
Kelly.
It's an owner problem, not a dog problem.
I agree. Does anybody else like to speak during the public hearing? Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? Barry moves, Widener seconds. Public hearing is closed. We're on to new business. Wilson talked about Vern Holland, and in memory of him, we're doing a proclamation for Vern, and I'd like to read that, and then we have that proclamation, and if the family would like to come up, we'll get a photo of that, right? The proclamation says, whereas Vern T. Holland was a lifetime community leader and who was instrumental in the development and incorporation of the town of Beech Mountain, whereas Vern Holland was committed to serving the town of Beech Mountain and was appointed the first Beech Mountain mayor from May 1st, 1981 to December 8th, 1981. Whereas Vern Holland was a man who served his country in the military during the Korean War and the Berlin crisis and was honorably discharged. Whereas Vern Holland was a licensed real estate broker and a North Carolina contractor throughout his professional career, serving as president of the Avery-Watauga Realtors Association as well as the North Carolina State Director. Vern Holland obtained his firefighter certificate and served on the Beech Mountain Volunteer Fire Department from 1974 to 2005. Count those numbers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Beech Mountain, North Carolina, in keeping with the time-honored tradition of recognizing and honoring its most important citizens, does hereby extend its gratitude to Vern T. Holland for his service and contributions to his family, friends, and his mountain community he so enjoyed through this proclamation of appreciation. May he rest in peace. You guys want to come up?
Okay, I'm gonna count to 3. Try not to blink. Go right in.
Scoot the cushion just a little closer. There you go.
You are
Okay, here we go. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is something that we received. They're asking the municipalities in the area to do a proclamation for the National Mentoring Youth Month. So I will read that proclamation also. In January 2019 will mark the 18th anniversary of the National Mentoring Month, an annual campaign to recruit volunteer mentors for young people. National Mentoring Month celebrates the benefits of youth mentoring across the country. Every day in communities across the country, caring adults volunteer their time with mentoring programs to create consistent and supportive relationships to young people. At its most basic level, mentoring is successful in real life because it guarantees a young person has an adult to turn to and that they have a guiding hand to help them in dealing with day-to-day challenges. At a more complex level, there is a powerful mentoring effect that ultimately makes our communities stronger, and quality mentoring programs are proven to build relationships that help improve school attendance and academic achievement, promote responsible decision-making, and provide skills to better navigate relationships at school, socially, and at home. In 2018, volunteers in Western Youth Network's mentoring program spent over 4,770 hours with youth in Watauga County, totaling more than $115,147.80 worth of donated time to benefit our community. Thank You Mentor Day, which is January 31st, promotes 3 ways to honor your mentor. Contact your mentor directly to express your appreciation, pass on what you received by becoming a mentor to a young person in your community, or write a tribute to your mentor for posting on whomentoredyou.org. The Watauga County community is dedicated to realizing the promise and power of mentoring. Therefore, I, Renee Castiglione, Mayor of Beech Mountain, as a demonstration of the value of volunteerism to this community, do hereby proclaim January 31st, 2019 as Thank Your Mentor Day, and January 2019 as Mentoring Month, celebrated by the Watauga County community, and urge our citizens to recognize this day, to consider mentoring a young person in their community, and to celebrate this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. Sounds like a good deal. Please keep that in mind. We have Philip Barrier here, who's our county manager for Avery County, and he's going to do a presentation for the strategic plan of Avery County. Welcome, Philip. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tam, for allowing me to speak and be here today. And let me say this is very refreshing to see a room full of individuals that are here about government, because I believe in government. I've worked for government for 21 years. I was your tax collector on the Avery County side for 19 of those years. I apologize for that now. You've got a great replacement, so things ought to be looking up soon. I am here today to talk about a strategic plan for Avery County. Boy, is that a great big word, right? But, so I guess you want me to pop this up there and say, oh, here's our strategic plan. But what I'm asking is for the citizens and for the boards, and I'm going to go to 12 different locations. I'm asking for input on what this strategic plan should look like. Currently, there's a strategic plan for our planning department. Economic Development Committee is going to start working on the strategic plan, but as far as government, we don't today have a written strategic plan. And I want this to be more than words on a piece of paper. I've looked at some of the other neighboring counties, not to pick on anyone, but wow, it's a lot of words. It's just words. I want this to be more than words on paper. So what I've done, you can go to the website, or if you're interested, I'll leave these with Tim. And if you are interested, and I don't care if you live on the Watauga side of the county, or if you live on the Avery side of the county,
I'll try to annex you in sooner or later. Tim, maybe we can start working on that, because I'd love to have the bottom of the beach instead of the top, but the top's the most important, right? But I'll leave these with you, and what I'm asking is for, what should our goals be? And I don't want to call it a strategic plan, I want to call it goals. What should our goals be, and how can we achieve those goals? So I'll leave these with Tim. It'll also be available on our website, everycountync.gov. If you want to email me, or just pick up the phone and give me a call and say, Philip, this is what I think we need to do. I just want to be transparent, and I think I need to engage with citizens and hear from you. What can we do? What are things that the county needs to do for each and every citizen of this county? So that's my idea, and so I just need your help. What do the goals need to be? What's the mission statement need to be for the county? We're there to provide service. Are we providing that service, well enough? What else can we do, and how can we do it better? And together, and that's my word, I've been in they took me from the tax office, threw me under the bus, is what a lot of people say, like, they give me a lot of condolences for taking county manager, but I love this county. And I live on the opposite end of the county. I'm up here at Beach today. I live down on the Toe River at Ingalls on the Mitchell County line. But I love this county. I believe in this county, and I know what this county can do. But I need everybody's help in order to come up with this plan. So that's what I'm asking for from you all today. Are there any questions? Anybody got any ideas right now?
Are your taxes less than we thought?
No. Let me say this. Property taxes, no. And here's the reason why. Let me tell you why. Sales tax in Watauga County, they get a lot of sales tax. So let me say this. I'm glad you said that. If you voted in Avery County on the ballot was Article 46, which is the quarter-cent sales tax. Now, as government, I can't go around and campaign for this, okay, because they tie my hands behind my back. But I can just say that what that means is a neighboring county, Ashe County, has this tax, okay? And for November, I happen to have it right here. It produced $61,000 for them for the month of November. It's 5 cents for every $20 you spend. Sales tax, additional sales tax that comes back to the county. So it was beaten in our referendum, and I know Watauga had it on their referendum a couple of years ago, and it got defeated then. If you ever see Article 46 again, I would encourage you to vote for it, because sales tax is a way that we can have more money in the budget without taxing property owners. This taxes our visitors and everyone that spends any money at our restaurants, grocery stores, entertainment, any of that, other than the essential non-tax food items. So, just saying, glad you brought that up. But anyway, I just encourage you to take a form from Tim, give me a call. I'm there. I'll be glad to take your phone calls. Council, anybody on the board has ideas, what can Avery County do better for the town of Beach? I'd love to hear from you. Okay?
Philip, what's the deadline on responses?
There's not a deadline. What I'm saying is, I would love to present this to my board in May, but we're currently operating, and we've been operating for over 100 years without a strategic plan. So I think we're going to be okay until we get the right one put together. So that's my goal. I want to get the right plan together. So I will be wrapping up things in like the end of February, and we'll have a meeting at my offices if anybody is interested in coming, and I'll make sure Tim knows when that's going to be and say, this is the findings, this is what people are telling me needs to be our strategic plan. So I'm just asking for your help. I'm also going to leave some cards up here with Tim if anybody needs that. But type in everycountync.gov and our website will pull right up. Okay?
Thank you, Phil.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
having me.
Good luck with that. It's quite a job to
Well,
take.
we're going to do something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our 2017-2018 budget audit presentation, and Misty Watson will be doing that. Thank you for being here, Misty.
Thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to complete the audit. I appreciate being able to work with you all over the last 4 years on my own, and then previously with a previous audit firm. As you all know, this will be my last year, so I do appreciate everything. I don't know how to work this. Just see if this one I skip it. Okay. Okay. But I did just do a little handout just to do some highlights for the town for the fiscal year 18. So if we go to the next page, hopefully you can read it up there, but it may be on the town's website also.
Not yet, we'll be after.
Okay. But the first bullet point just points out that at the end of June 30, 18, the town's assets for all funds exceeded the liabilities by $24 million, which was an increase of $1.1 million from fiscal year 17. And a majority of this increase was due to town management continuing and the town council closely monitoring the expenditures. And the property tax collection rate for fiscal year 18 is 97.55, which was a slight decrease from fiscal year 17. And I pulled some data from the state's website. And the most current data is as of 6/30/17, and the average collection rate for a town the size of Beech Mountain was 98.51%. And then the average tax collection rate across the state was 99.19%. And the third point is the unassigned fund balance for the general fund was almost $3.3 million, with 55% of general fund expenditures. And again, I just pulled some data from fiscal year 17 from the state's website. And a town the size of Beech Mountain's average fund balance, unassigned fund balance, was 118% and 45% across the state for all municipalities. And the next bullet point talks about the water and sewer and sanitation funds, the enterprise funds. And the net position for the water and sewer fund increased a little over $4,000, leaving the total net position at $10 million. And the sanitation fund had an increase of $1,200, leaving the net position at year end at $649,000. And the town had total debt decrease by $570,000 for principal payments for the installment notes in the current year, and no new debt, and the revenue bonds, and no new debt was issued in fiscal year 18. And also the town added new capital assets during the year in the general fund of about $870,000 and about $1.7 million in the water and sewer fund. And for those asset additions, they were for various things, as vehicles, equipment, various types of backhoes and that sort of equipment, and then completed construction of the Spruce Hollow to Parkway water line. And at the end of 6/30/18, the town was almost finished with the water treatment plant, but it was still in construction in progress. And the next page just goes over our audit opinion and that sort of thing. But we did issue an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion for the town, and that can be seen on pages 1 through 2 of the financial statements. And then we did perform the audit in accordance with the government auditing standards and then the general accepted auditing standards. And our objective was to provide reasonable assurance, but not absolute assurance, that the basic financial statements are free of material misstatement, and the financial statements are the responsibility of town's management and council. And again, the next is just talking about our unmodified opinion. And our audit adjustments were typical audit adjustments that we perform, and they were mostly just for things like local government retirement and the law enforcement officer special separation allowance, depreciation, and long-term debt payments. And the last page is we received full cooperation from staff for the town and management, and I greatly appreciate that. We had no disagreements on any accounting adjustments or any accounting issues, and the town recorded all of my journal entries that I recommended. So I just appreciate everything. And I did give you guys 2 handouts. The one page is just the assessment of internal controls. It's a management letter saying that I didn't find any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses for the town. And the second 2-page handout is just conclusion of the audit, again reiterating that I had no disagreements with management and they were fully cooperative. And there were also no new accounting principles adopted in the current fiscal year.
Thank you, Ms. Dean.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all the time you've given us over the years. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck in your new job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
What he said.
She gets to write big checks now.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions, or?
Carl?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
We had the review with Mr. Pryor.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure I'll see you around.
Hope so.
Can I ask two quick questions? Is Buckeye Recreation mortgage paid off now?
This year, 2019.
19, it's paid off this year.
That'll go off. And the next question is, are we still receiving the additional sales tax money from Watauga County?
Yes, they changed the percentage. It used to be 60-40, now it's, or it used to be 70-30, now it's 60-40. So, but we're still getting it.
To their benefit?
Of course. So 70-30, it
Well,
was 60-40.
well, to our benefit, because we still get the whole harmless plus a lot more money than we would have ever gotten.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
And if you want to come-
whatever it is.
If you want to hear how much we've gotten over the last 5 years, come to the planning retreat on the 15th. And we'll have
Okay.
all those figures we can hand
Yeah,
out.
no, it's still, it went down 10%, but it's still a lot of money, so it's a good thing.
Helps the budget.
It helps that general fund for sure. Right, Rick? Okay, we have a motion to request a public hearing for February 11th, 2019 for the water supply watershed overlay tax amendment. And this, I believe, is going to change some verbiage in that. Do I hear a motion on? Did I say 11?
It is 11, it is
It is
11.
11.
We had to move it to Monday.
Yeah.
Because, yes, it is going to be the 11th.
Don't confuse me, Iris. Do I hear a motion?
So,
Barry moved, Wendell second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. We will have a public hearing on that on February 11th at 2019. Yeah, we changed it to a Monday. Okay, we have some old business now. I need to have a motion to request the signed ordinance amendment for a public hearing for February 11th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
so moved.
Wendell move, Widener second. All in favor of a public hearing, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. The public hearing is also scheduled for February 11th. And that will go out in an email to everybody that that meeting has been changed from the Tuesday to the Monday.
And it's already on the calendar you approved last month. It's been approved.
Yeah, it's on the website.
It's on the website.
Next is, we're not gonna take a motion, now we're gonna discuss the animal restraint text amendment, and then we'll take it from there. Does somebody wanna open the discussion?
I'll go ahead and start. It was something was pointed out to me in the ordinance itself as we have it today, under definitions, under 92.16, there is something that it was pointed out to me that in effect we have a leash law now. And I'll read you the definition of animal at large. Any dog off the premises of his or her owner and not under the immediate control of his or her owner or his or her custodian. A dog without physical restraint, and then it's in parentheses, i.e. a leash, that fails to immediately respond to the verbal commands of his or her owner or his or her custodian shall be deemed to not be under immediate control. The reason I think it's important that we look at this particular verbiage is that this ordinance this is the existing ordinance, not a changed ordinance as it currently exists. And all ordinances that appear in our big book that we have, and if you don't go to the book, if you go to the website, there's a lot of ordinances in there. They're basically complaint driven. Unless a complaint is made, nothing can be done. The police can't respond to anything. And I know, I brought this up briefly when we were having comments earlier, but where it says dog complaints total. This is a subset of the true amount of problems that may exist out there. But at the same time, the police, if we change the ordinance and require every dog to be on a leash, it still is going to require the public to respond before the police can do anything. So I think it's important that we keep that in mind as we go forward in this. I'm not sure, you heard me, those of you that were here last month, heard me talk very strongly for a leash ordinance and against people who let their dogs roam on their own, or who have them outside, even on their property, and they do not respond to come back into the house, come here, or whatever. But at the same time, I'm not sure if doing an ordinance in and of itself, a new ordinance to require a leash, is going to solve anything. I'm just not sure that we're there. But at the same time, I know after we had our meeting last month, I went to a bar. I didn't have a drink. Did not have a drink. I did when I got home because I needed one then. But while I was there, I was told that, you know, as you've heard here, some people feel that the dog should run loose, that that's an animal being an animal. And I was told that I said, but what if the dog gets hit? What's the dog's fault? Don't worry about it. I wouldn't hold the driver responsible. But what about the driver of the vehicle who has to live with the fact that they hit the dog, they killed the dog? What about a child that may be in, I think somebody mentioned during the hearings that took place earlier, that, you know, they could, in swerving the car, they could hurt a kid that's in the car. Or they could swerve because of what they see here and swerve into something else and cause greater damage or even harm to a person or another animal. I don't know. But I'm not sure, even after I say all that, I'm not sure that passing a new ordinance is going to change anything because it's still going to require us to have the public call in. And I have no idea, and I know Tim can't tell me. If I was to ask Tim out there, Tim, we received in, I'll use 2018 as an example, we received 41 complaints. How many didn't we get? There's no way you can tell me that. But I know it wasn't just 41 complaints because the gentleman, I'm sorry.
Gary?
Yeah, Gary, that's a lot easier. Gary indicated that he called one, maybe two, maybe three times, but yet you indicated quite a few examples. And so you did not call every time that there was an example. So I think that we have that out there a lot. Michael had a lot of dogs. Over the years, chase him. And I don't believe Michael made one phone call. But those are complaints. They're out there, but they never got in this total. Sorry, but they're not in the total, and the total understates the problem. We do have a problem, and I think the problem, you used the term not the way I'm going to use it. You said it's a people problem. The people problem is not calling in if you have a problem. If you have a problem, call. The more complaints that are called in, the bigger the magnitude of the problem will be, and more likely that the council is willing to take some action beyond what is already in the ordinance. But like I say, right now, the way I read it, and our attorney could probably say I'm full of crap, but it says that you have to have the dog under restraint. That could be a leash restraint or a voice restraint, one of the two. And I know I had a German Shepherd years ago that I put through what is referred to as Schützen training. It's a type of training they use in Germany for their dogs. And my dog was very well trained. I could call that dog out when it was in an attack mode, a controlled attack mode, please understand. In a controlled attack mode, I could call that dog off. Police dogs can be called off. But that's the exception. It is not the norm for most people having their dogs. But I think we have to have the public, and that's you all out there, that's me, when there's a problem, call it in. And some dogs that are out there on their own are not on their own because the owner just let them roam. I was helping a fellow person who lives here on Beach Mountain try and track down his dog, who got away. And he was frantically driving up and down roads, and I did as well. We probably drove up and down roads for about an hour and a half. And finally, somebody else found the dog and brought him home. But like I say, if I was to vote right now, and I'm going to be asked to vote probably in a little bit, and I probably am going to go with a no at this point.
Okay.
Uh, How many people have their dog registered with the police department?
Ask the other question, the other side.
How many people don't? Quite a few. Well, you realize that that is an ordinance that your dog has to be registered with the police department. So, again, that's a regulation that we're not following. If you live here more than 30 days, your dog has to be registered with the police department. And part of that, the registration, is you have to supply that the dog has been inoculated for rabies. And you have to show proof. You just can't say,
yep,
yeah, you gotta show proof that it's been done. So there's part of the situation that we're not really following everything. The second part is, I understand Cindy lets her dogs run, and I've encountered them. I'm not afraid of dogs. But somebody else has been bitten by a dog when they were young, sees those two big dogs, and they're friendly dogs, I'm not saying they're not. But if you've been bitten by a dog when you were young, and you can see these two big dogs coming at you, with no owner except she's in her car. So she's not walking with the dog, she's riding beside them. You're gonna freeze right there. Now, the dogs are not gonna attack you, but you don't know that. So, again, it's a situation where we have laws, we have regulations right here. I mean, it's clear as day. If your dog is not restrained or voice controlled, and I encounter it all the time because I walk my dog all over this mountain. And I get dogs that come and chase my dog. Now, my dog's a big dog, and he doesn't like other dogs. And I tell the people that are, if they're close, I tell them, restrain your dog because there's going to be a war. Because he doesn't like it. And I had one lady tell me, well, I'm glad that you understand your dog and you warned me ahead of time. Because I know what's going to happen. So, is it a dog problem? No, it's a people problem.
Yes.
It's the same with the bear problem. If we don't want to feed we don't want bears in our properties, stop putting garbage up. It's the same situation. People have to be conscientious of other people. And if you're not, then that's why we run into this situation all the time. We have all the laws right here. And like Wendell said, the more complaints we get, the more the police department can do something about it. But if everybody's quiet and doesn't say anything, then like Frank, he brings up, well, there's never been a complaint. Well, I guarantee you, if people start calling in, there's going to be a lot more complaints. And so that's what we need. And so then we can come back and say to the citizens, well, we've had 150 complaints and nothing seems to change, so we have to come up with another regulation. What a regulation without be able to control it or charge anybody with it is a waste of time. It's just another piece of paper. But we have all the regulations we want right here. You know, I was reading it, and I'll be the first to admit, my dog is not registered with the town.
Yet.
It is now. And I didn't know. I started to read the regulation. And there it is. So the first thing I did is I went and tagged my dog. Now he's registered. If for some reason or other, if somebody sees him or for whatever reason, they'll know The town has him registered, and they know that he doesn't have rabies. That he's had his rabies shots. And so that gives you a little bit of security. And yes, it does say, and I walk my dog, and I have dogs come after my dog. And like I said before, I tell the owner, if there's an owner around. If there's no owner around, I'll do whatever is necessary to protect my dog. And if whatever I have to do and let the other owner come to me and say, you hurt my dog, and first thing I'm going to say is, where's his leash, or where's his tag, or where's anything? The dog wasn't restrained. So, at first I was a yes for a leash law. Now that I've read the regulation, and I realize what it's going to take to implement a leash law, it's just going to be too difficult, so I'm a no.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna be a lot shorter winded than Wendell Berry. I'm opposed to it as well.
Yeah, but you most of the time in South Carolina, that's what.
Leave him alone. Carl?
Well, I mean, I remain a stated no, but I've got to say that Gary's comments were eye-opening for me. And by his definition, we are a bad dog-owning family. Although registered, Oscar will terrorize the villagers. And part of it is, that's just the way we were raised as dog owners up here. The mountain has grown. Our dogs used to go to the slopes with us. You know, we also used to drive cars before we were 16 when we were unincorporated. So it doesn't make it right.
Did you get that on TV and everything?
He's not 16 anymore.
I tend to agree that additional codification of another ordinance is not required here. But call in, identify. It sounds like we have a few specific problem animals. Give the police and the others the ammunition they need for us to address them. And I believe all of that exists in our existing ordinance, so I'll remain a no. But I want to thank Gary for his comments, because I haven't experienced it from that side. And it shed a little light on the other side of the equation. I appreciate that.
Can I say one more thing?
Just one more thing.
One more thing.
Sure.
I have to add one more thing. I suggested prior to the meeting, I got here about 3:30 before we started, and I suggested to the chief of police that what I would do when I found a dog, because I found a couple in the parking lot out here today when I was up here earlier, and I thought what I would do, I said, no problem, I'll get the police to come out, but by then the dog can be gone and the police can't do anything. So there would be a complaint, but nobody would get charged. And I said, no problem. When I see it, I'll get a rope that I carry in my car and I'll just loop it around the dog's neck and hold on to the dog until the police get here. I was informed by the police, please don't do that, because you would be charged. There's a state law that's, if the dog has a collar and is properly licensed and so on, and you do that, you can be charged under a state law. So it's a problem. I would get the police there to report a dog that I found roaming around, and I would get charged possibly as well, in addition to the other owner. So I just thought I'd share that.
I've got a few words. This is all because of me. I do take responsibility for it. I did get a call, and at the time when I got the call, I thought, we got to do something about this. There's no reason why people should be letting their dogs out and terrorize other dogs or possibly people. And not terrorizing, snarling and stuff like that, but it's still a terror, as Barry said. You don't know the dog that's coming at you. You don't know what it's going to do. So I'm the one responsible for putting it on the agenda and talking about it. And I was a definite yes for the leash law when we first did it. And then I spoke to the police chief and reading the new ordinance, and I'm thinking this new ordinance sounds a lot like the old ordinance. And so talking to different people and whatnot, I have changed my mind. I'm not for the leash law, but we do have an issue, and it is with a few select, and all I can ask, and there's another thing I want to get to, but all I can ask is that dog owners who do let their dogs run out, please consider your neighbors. I know we're in a mountain community, but please consider your neighbors. Because in one of the comments from last meeting, and I can't remember who it was, it was, you could, with the leash law, you could pit neighbor against neighbor. But if you're letting your dogs out, you're still pitting yourself against your neighbors or your local community. And all I ask is that you think about other people and what those dogs could be doing. As Carl said, it's an eye-opener to think about it from the other side. The other thing is the main thing is that if the police don't see the dog roaming around, if you call for a complaint, but by the time the police get there and the dog is gone 5 mountains over, then there's really nothing that they can do. I mean, they have to see it. And so I asked Chief Barnett, can't we do something about that? If you get a picture, a wide picture of this dog running free and there's nobody supervising it, and maybe we know who the dogs are, not yours, Cindy, and you know, is there something that can be done? And he did say yes, but there is a caveat to that. So I'm going to put the chief on the spot right now and just talk about taking pictures or videos of the animal.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, my pleasure.
Tim Barnett, Chief of Police, 403 Beach Mountain Parkway. To answer the mayor's question, you can take a picture, you can take a video of an animal all day long. You can send it to us. But in doing that, we're either going to have to seize your phone as evidence to be used when we write that state citation, and or we want to be subpoenaing you to come to court or to come to the town ordinance or come to the meeting with the town manager if you so choose to appeal. But by all means, if you want to follow that, take that route, we can do that as well.
My question is if they take a picture without having to confiscate their phone at that time because nobody's going to be taking pictures, can they present the picture, a printed photo of the picture, and then if it has to be subpoenaed, it can be subpoenaed at that time?
They can present us with the picture, but at the time when they submit that picture to us, we're going to take their name, address, phone number, so that we can send the subpoena to them.
Okay.
To take the phone.
Because they are the witness.
If I may just for 2 seconds, I'm a retired lawyer. Mike's here, he's gonna back me up.
There's a Jim, please quiet it down, please.
Any crime can be prosecuted with a witness. It doesn't require the police to witness the crime. But the witness has to be willing to testify.
That is correct.
So don't say that the police have to view and see the violation. It is perfectly acceptable for somebody making the complaint to be the witness. That's all that's required, if they're willing to be the witness.
That is correct. Mr. Hurst is absolutely correct. If you see it, you can actually be the one to go to the magistrate to swear out the charges.
That's
It
even
doesn't
better.
have to take the
Thank you,
police to do
Ernest.
that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's even better then. I mean, because that's the issue. If Gary has a problem with a dog or whatever, and it's the same dog or whatever, if he swears out a complaint or goes to the magistrate, then he's the witness, and so then the police can do something about it. Well, there you go. So it goes back to what Wendell said, as far as if you make the complaint, then maybe we can take care of this problem, and it's an ordinance, the existing ordinance is one that we can start enforcing. And thank you very much for bringing that up. So therefore, I believe we have 5 no's on the leash ordinance, so it therefore drops. There is no vote or anything because the consensus says there's no leash ordinance. So we're just going to move on, and thank you for everybody's input.
Thank you, everybody. I gotta go to Red Cross meeting. I appreciate you coming down and doing this. Thank you.
Okay, folks, settle down. We've got some board nominations that we have to do, and we'll start with Wendell with the Board of Adjustments.
Okay, 2 of the people on the board have terms expiring, Bill Hagnett and Alan Holcomb. And we're going to be bringing two new people on the board. One, Brian Barnes, will be going on to the board.
Nominated.
Be nominated, true, to be on the board. Now, Lee Whitman is currently an alternate on the Board of Adjustment. He will be coming onto the board as a full-time member. And I'm nominating 3 alternates, Cindy Porter, Sarah Welsh, and Carla Lerner, to be alternates to the Board of Adjustment. That's my nomination.
Do I hear a second to that nomination?
Second.
Barry seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the Board of Adjustments. Carl, would you like to do the TDA?
All right, we have 3 expiring terms of current TDA board members, Calder Smoot, Phyllis Winter, and James Accardi. We're going to nominate Phyllis Winter, James Accardi II, and Sandy Carr to fill those 3. As a second, we're going to remove a board member, Mr. Watron, and we're going to nominate Mandy Taylor to serve the remaining year of his current term.
That's good. And you want to do the jury vice chair?
And
Okay, wait a second. So that's your nomination?
I would like, to make those
Okay.
2 nominations.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Wendell seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, yeah.
As to the chairmanship and vice chairmanship of the Tourism Development Authority Committee, I'd like to nominate Phyllis Winter as chairman and James Accardi II as vice chair.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
For the removal of Mr. Watron, I believe that's for lack of attendance of meetings. That would need to be part of your record.
Okay.
Just for minutes as to the basis for the removal.
Okay.
Because it does have to be for cause.
All right. So with the nomination change.
Could I amend my nomination to include the reason of lack of attendance
Yes.
to board meetings as to, for the cause for Mr. Watron's removal from said board?
Okay, so we have a nomination for chair and vice chair on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Wendell seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Phyllis and Jimmy, congratulations. We've got the Parks and Rec, and Widener, would you like to do that?
Yes. I've nominated Kelly Mullane for Parks and Rec.
Oh, and then you have Doug and then just do renominate.
Okay.
Sorry.
And Rory Ellington and Loretta Wagner will be renominated. Will remain on the committee.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Carl, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Then we have the tree board. We have one opening. Riley Pudney has gotten a full-time job, so she can't come to the meetings. So Jane Miller has offered to serve on the tree board, so I nominate Jane Miller. And then also renominate Susie Nepka, Lear Powell, and Tony Hunter. Do I hear a second? Second. Barry seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The boards are now taken care of.
Planning.
Oh, sorry. Planning board. Sorry. My fault. We have the planning board.
All right, the planning board, we've moved Sandy Carr over to the TDA. And so we have a position open. So Peter Patton has been nominated for the planning board.
I'll second.
Wendell seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Now we've done all the.
I'd like to point out that you heard us nominate a chair and a vice chair for the TDA. That is the only committee that the town council selects the chair and the vice chair. The committees themselves at their next meeting will determine themselves who their chair and vice chair are. I should have mentioned that earlier, sorry.
No, it's good. Thank you. Mr. Holloman?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. There's going to be a Shane Outpost Park meeting February 28th at 4 p.m. and that Sean is going to be here at Town Hall. And that's part of the Parks Recreation Trust Fund grant we're reapplying for. And so we'll be disseminating that information out. So just want to call your attention to that. January 15th is the council retreat, as I mentioned earlier, beginning at 8:30 that Tuesday morning. And we also have blocked off Wednesday just in case we don't finish up that Tuesday. If any citizen would like to submit information for consideration by council, the deadline is Thursday, January 8th, January 10th. That's coming up this Thursday. So far, we've only had 3 submissions from citizens. They've had multiple items, but only 3 submissions to date. January 15th is the deadline for the comprehensive plan survey. We had 281 people the other day. Do we have an update on?
Yeah, we have 444.
Ooh, very good.
Up to date.
Wow.
So we would like to get to at least over the 700 mark. That's the same number we have for the survey we did about curbside pickup. So
We'll care more about garbage and then comprehensive.
but we do have a lot of people participating in that. So we will be sending out another code red this Friday on that, just to remind people. But you do still have time to input on that as well. We do have some paper copies if you want to pick them up here at Town Hall, if you prefer to do that. Also, when we start having town hall meetings down at the rec center, of course, the rec center is taking full advantage of this for a lot of other things. We have an in-place PowerPoint and sound system down there now, so we don't have to portable and pull wires everywhere when we have meetings down there.
Nice.
Sean told me today they've been using it for a lot of other activities, so it's really turning out well down there. And let's see if there's anything else. Dylan, Mayor, that's all I have at this time.
Okay. It's a new year. We have council comments. Last year I started from my right. This year I'm starting from my left. So Wendell, would you like to go?
Sure. I know that this was mentioned last month, but I want to thank the Brick Oven again for the fundraiser that they did for both the police department and the fire department. It's much appreciated. And Robert, I know that you heard earlier that there's still some dissatisfaction with the dump. Also, the cleanliness of the dump, the potholes. I know the issue there. It's a bad drainage area. I know the issue, but it's something that has to have constant attention to it. I'm not sure what the solution is, other than long term, moving the dump, moving it to where it's out of sight and out of mind. I think you've made good efforts at trying to improve this look. You'll never get it pristine, but continue the efforts of trying to make it look better. I think that would be well received by everybody in the community. Thank you.
You're up.
All right, so I'm gonna stand up. I got some photographs that I want to share with you guys. And Wendell mentioned the dump, and hopefully after this meeting, we call it the recycling center. For months since I got on city council, one of the commitments I made was to make Beach Mountain look better. I wanted Beach Mountain to, in my opinion, it looked worn out, looked old, and we need to give it a facelift. So ever since I've been on council, I've been harping and complaining about how our dump looks. And again, I wanted to make it look like a recycling center. So I've sent out a number of emails, and my emails are falling on deaf ears, and I'm asking you guys for your support. So I'm going to pass these around after I say a couple words. So right here, this was taken in January. This is our dump. The same day, just a few minutes after that picture. Here's another recycling center. Same day. Same day. Quite a contrast. I'll do it. Same day. Here's another recycling center. Same day. This here, these sites that I showed you here are dumpsters. I went to 2 sites that have trash compactors. This is Sugar Mountain. This is the same day that those photos were taken as well. So this picture here was taken at a different time than I took the pictures that I just showed you. This is our dump.
Can I see that one?
This one here?
Yeah.
I'll show them to you in a second.
Because I saw something on there I won't see.
So, same day,
No, I don't
same,
want to do.
same day that I took that photo was this photo. Same day. So, this photo was taken, I think, in November of our dump. This was in November. This was in October, I took it of our dump. And this one's back in July. So, try to be consistent with taking pictures at various times. And this one here was another day, about 7:30 in the morning when I took this picture. And I think those photos are the same as these, compared to look at those, pass those around like I had these when I get finished. So,
Can I ask you something?
sure.
I'd like to put this on the agenda for tonight, so that we can actually have a discussion throughout the council and possibly take a vote on something. Can we do that?
Motion would be in order to amend the agenda if you wish to do that.
Do you want to do that, Weiner, so we can actually have an out-and-out discussion and see if
No,
there's...
well, we can, but I want to finish what I came here to discuss. Yes,
Well,
we
that's
can.
fine. It would be done with part of the motion, though, so that we
Okay.
can really discuss it.
So, the reason I come to you guys is that in my opinion, I've been ineffective with the council and with our town manager. And I'm asking for your support to make our dump look like a recycling center. You see pictures of what other recycling centers look like, and there's no reason that ours can't look like, they can't mirror what you see here. You know, I don't work off excuses, I work off solutions. So, for the however many months that I've been complaining about this, I did get a couple responses several weeks ago. One of the excuses I got was that the reason that Sugar Mountain looks in the manner that it does is they aren't as busy as Beach Mountain. Well, obviously, whatever Sugar Mountain is doing, then they're effective, and we're ineffective. I mean, that's clear. You can look at what they're doing versus what we're doing. The photographs are there. Another excuse I got was that that we didn't have. Let me look at my notes here. That the other facilities have a trash compactor. Well, I visited 7 facilities. 2 have a trash compactor and 5 don't. And the pictures I had there showed facilities that where ours are maxed out, these here are spotless. Another excuse I got is that we don't have room for any more dumpsters. So, you know, again, come up with a solution. So I measured, when you go into the recycling center, I hope, but when you go into the dump, from the first dumpster to the last dumpster, it's 111 feet. We have 4 cans in that 111 feet span. 2 other sites I visited, I measured off 111 feet. One site has 11 cans, and the other site has 12 cans. So, you know, one thing that hasn't been discussed is, and I think Barry mentioned it a while ago, about, you know, the bears, and, you know, we don't need to be feeding the bears. Well, I mean, they got a pretty big buffet, you know, at our dump. What I've asked for is that we get more cans. The other facilities that we have, they are empty daily. And whatever these other areas are doing is effective, and what we're doing is ineffective. I mean, it's embarrassing. When I was there after Christmas, Charlie took a tongue lashing from 2 people. And one of them, I intervened and I said, hey, he's just an employee. I'm on city council. You have a complaint, I'd like for you to contact our town manager and send him an email and discuss it with him, let him know your dissatisfaction. One day when I was taking pictures, a gentleman from Florida, he had about 8 bags of trash in the back of his vehicle. He had a big Lincoln, and I grabbed a couple of bags, and I was taking pictures, and he said he was taking pictures of your dump, and I said, yes, sir. I said, you know, it's a disgrace. He said, I agree. I'm in the trash business down in Florida. He said, you guys need more cans. He said, it's obvious you guys need more cans, and you need your cans empty more frequently. So, you know, if I don't stand up here and say something, I'm not doing my job. It is a challenge for me that, you know, when I got voted on city council, I didn't think it was going to be this controversial, and it creates a divide. You know, some people going to agree with you, some people going to disagree with you, but I feel like that if I don't continue to voice my opinion, then I'm letting the voters down. And one of my main focal points when I ran for city council was to make Beach Mountain look better. And I can't do it alone, and I need y'all's help. So if you're satisfied with those pictures, you know, that's fine. If you think that we can do better, then I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay. Robert, you want to respond to that?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, do you wish to take
Let's hold on for a second. I do want to make a motion to change the agenda, amend the agenda, and add this to our agenda so that we can talk about it. I know that there might be some options in there, and then, you know, we would take a vote on it.
You want to hear me out first?
I would very much like to hear you, and I would like you to respond to Widener's before we discuss.
I don't think you have to do that.
Okay.
Widener, I understand what you're saying. And part of what we're doing, looking at the new building, is a way to fix this. Interim, we've tried to do some things. Can we add more cans? Yes. Can I empty them more often? No. Matt, how many times we run through Christmas to Boone? I've got one guy that got 114 hours in 2 weeks, and all he's done, other than 2 days since he's actually down route, he's run to Boone.
That's a good point. So when I went by there Sunday, and whatever you guys have done, I appreciate it. You know, this is, you know, I think part of this has got to do with our leadership. And I'm not satisfied with the direction that our town's going in. But that's a whole different story. But when I went in there Sunday, we had the gentleman that was pushing that had the front end loader. Was he being paid overtime?
No.
No?
That one wasn't.
Okay. When they're pushing trash down, are they being paid overtime?
On weekends?
Anytime. 7 days a week.
Well, it just depends on what the time works out. What we're doing is we're bringing in a guy to drive truck on weekends to help empty them, because he can go to Boone on Saturdays. That's the only way we can keep it from looking worse than what it does in those pictures. The one picture you showed that I actually spoke up about is the blue dumpster that says Republic on it. That's a 30-yard dumpster. We're having that sucker empty twice a week. We have to compact it, or we're not hauling anything. You know, I can't, you measured it the other day, I watched you walk it off. You can put more dumpsters in there, 1 or 2 maybe. But remember, we have 3 recycling bins that go right there at the end. So that takes up that space that you have to be able to get those in and out. Can we add more? Probably. If you want me to do a budget amendment to buy more dumpsters, I don't have a problem doing that. Can I empty them more often? No. I can haul about 7 tons off here a time.
You know, if there was a restaurant that looked like that, or if there was a residence that looked like that, it would not be tolerated. It would not be tolerated, period.
I mean, I understand, and I'm offering to help do a solution, but you can put more cans, but I still can't haul them anymore.
Okay, so if we can't haul it more, so 2 things. We need more cans so we're not feeding the bears. When the dump closes, the lids need to be fastened so the bears can't get in it. Second is that if we can't haul it more, see, I'm not being abrasive when I say it. Here's the excuse, is that you don't have time to haul it. Okay, well then we need to contract it out to GDS or Public Services. We got to come up with solutions, not, we can't do it because we can't do it.
That's not what I'm saying. We can only haul, what time is it? 7? There's 7 to 4. It's a 2-hour trip.
So give me a solution. It's, you know.
Compactors.
Okay.
Let me add something to what Robert said. One thing.
Let Carl.
Okay.
I mean, yes, I've tried to hold my. One of these days, Widener jumped me looking for support when I came in to the dump off track, and look how bad it looks. At the height of the holiday traffic, I don't care if you line dumpsters from here to the resort, they're going to be overflowing. you took that picture, made this big stink. 3 hours later, because I'm still working, I went back, they'd emptied them. It's not that we're not. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a dump. This is not a park. There are times when our traffic surges so much that it is beyond the capacity that we sit right now, and it's going to look bad for a few hours. And I'm sorry, if a dirty dump offends you, then you're going to be offended. We have in the plans to purchase compactors and relocate this when we build the new public works building. This is a short-term problem. Other than the fact that I think convenience center is a poor euphemism for dump.
Thank you.
This is something that is being addressed in our planning. I think they're doing everything that can be done with the resources. And am I interested in throwing more money when we lack the capacity to do more? No. I'm comfortable with the fact that there are times the dump is going to look like a dump. I've been going, they're locking the dumpsters at night.
You can't lock the dumpsters because look at the lids.
You're there during the day. Before the end of the day, they take the last one and they're locked at 6 o'clock. Well, I'm still out emptying, cleaning houses, and taking trash. Come back by there at the end. Robert has produced a solution for after-hours dumping, which I think is fairly ingenious and used quite often.
I'm not going to argue the point.
Sitting
The pictures speak for
here
themselves.
and wanting to appeal to you that this is some kind of breakdown or some kind of failure of the staff or a lack of leadership, I think is disingenuous and unhealthy, and you frustrate me with it. I mean, to no end, and I apologize for getting upset. I think you guys are doing a great job. You know, how many more weekends are we going to have like that? Not many. Hopefully, we got 3 or 4 remaining through this season, because that's what it's about. They're not coming to go to the dump, though. Thank you. I'm sorry.
And let me, 2 more points. The main dumpster you see it's open is the 30-yard. That's the overflow. Mainly reason we bring it in is for the overflow. The others for the resort or Ski Beach. They don't have dumpsters. They haul all their stuff. They haul about 4 loads a day. He'll do about 3 tons a load. You know, so that's a truck and a half that we get from them on a decent day. On a busy, through Christmas, I have no idea how many times he come in there. That's mostly what's going in that big one.
So we also, when I was there the day before yesterday, I saw some contractors from, nothing against Tennessee, but they were contractors. They were dumping, they had a full truckload of carpet.
Charlie let them dump?
Nope. There was carpet at the dump. So
Did he let them dump?
Well, obviously, you saw it. I mean, you can dance around all you want, but
Did they
obviously
do
you
it at
can't.
night?
Yeah, no.
No,
It's been during the day, 'cause he's down in the morning. He's
So,
down during the day. You need to tell me that then, instead of.
Now,
when you look, Carl, I hear what you're saying, but when I took those pictures of the Beach Mountain, and then 20 minutes later I was at another site, 20 minutes later I was at another site, it's just, I know we can do better.
I agree.
We can do better.
Let me answer that too. We are doing better. We've not ignored your comments on this. This is what Carl added. We've got plans for a new facility that'll probably be here in 18 months, ready to go. The cardboard you see out there now that's stacked in the rain, that's going to be in the building with doors. You won't see it anymore. The only thing that will not be covered right now, we haven't figured out, is what the metal and furniture. And we may have facilities for that. We plan on 2 compactors. This summer we used overtime and we spent about $6,000 more on overtime to try to keep it pristine. We're spending all this money. We have a new plan in place. If it takes a while, I think we should take that into consideration. Some of those locations you mentioned, now I don't want to appear like I'm on the defensive, but they're closed 2 days a week. Watauga and Avery are closed 2 days a week on some of those clean sites. We're open, 7 days a week taking trash and everything, so we're providing a great service. So I think if you bear with us, I never get complaints about the dump. I never get a single call from the dump unless it's from Widener.
That's because people are complacent. I
don't think so. I think they're happy with the service they get, and we're doing on that. We'll have renderings just because so folks will believe us. We've got some plans on paper, but we'll have renderings in probably the next month or so to show what this looks like. We do have another person that's helped out, so now we have somebody from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to help alleviate that people who are not supposed to dump from dumping, and we have cut a lot of it out. We've cut tonnage down. How many?
We're staying a little bit less than we were a year ago.
And so we kind of monitor our tonnage, but we are taking efforts. And like I said, I just don't want people to go away from here thinking that, staff has not paid attention to what you're saying. We have. There's a timetable. If you want us to exceed it, then you have to convince council to go ahead and buy a compactor now. We have room for about one, but if we're moving in 18 months, what's the frugality and things about that? But we will carry out council policy. Thank you.
If it's 18 months, then we need to get, you said there was room for more cans. We need to have some more
Do we want to
cans.
spend more cans
But
if we're not going to use
If we
it
can't,
in 18
if we
months?
can't empty them, what is the point of additional cans?
Get them through Republic Services.
If we do something else, I would rather buy one compactor
That's
now
what
than
I'm
additional
thinking.
cans. We can buy 20-yard dumpsters for the compactor.
And so I mean, that's a good solution.
The compactor's better than open dumpster.
I think we should, because you were going to put a compactor on the budget for the next current budget, is that?
We've talked about it.
And if
I
we
think
get
we're
a
going to talk
compact,
about it next week at the retreat and see if it's something y'all want to go ahead with.
well, let's talk about it now for a second. If we get a compactor now, we can move that compactor.
Can we have the other conversation? Please leave the room if you're having other conversation. Thank you.
If you get a compactor now, it's not like we can't use it in 18 months, correct? We will be able to move that compact. So we're not spending, if we get new bins and we use them for 18 months, when we get the new place, those bins are not good anymore. So we're throwing money out the door. Why don't we think about, because you want two for the new building, correct? Can we buy one now?
What's the lead time?
About 6 to 8 weeks, I think. 10 weeks. You still have to do the pad though, so we have to pour pad. And so you're talking about if council was to decide at their February meeting, March, April, May, June, we might have it in place by May or June.
It may not warrant it, because if you're going to have, when you look at the pad and you look at having to move it again, unless you're able to use the same pad, and you look at the electrical.
No, you'd have to do
Well,
it.
you can
And
use
whatever outlay of expenses you have,
You're
weigh
gonna
that
lose
out against leasing not purchasing, but leasing 2 cans through Republic Services.
That I think we can do that, but you're still on holiday weekends, July 4th, you're still gonna have them packed over the top. It's not, I don't see it solving the problem, but if council wants us to buy 2 cans, we'll buy 2 cans.
Those other
And you got
pictures
Martin
weren't
Luther
just
King
holiday
Day.
weekends. But
And I mean, we get it every weekend. We got it more this summer than I have noticed.
That's because
in the
more
past.
people are
You
coming.
know, and like I
up
said,
to the
that's
mountain.
good for y'all and the businesses up here. A lot of that too comes back that we'll be manning it, we're closing it a little different, that will help. We knew it would be bad over Christmas. I mean, it's always bad over Christmas up here. That's because of the way we have those 2 or 3 different groups that come in at Christmas and leave and then come back in after Christmas. Yeah, like I said, I'm willing to go any way route you want to. I could put more cans in. Getting them hauled will still be the issue. We'll still have the 30-yard. That's the only way we can get through the holidays. That's
So-
a busy time.
You've got, right now, you got the corrugated. The corrugated gets wet. I mean, we bought a baler for our plant. It has to, like you said a while ago, it has to stay dry. And I don't know, there's probably 8 or 10, maybe 12 bales down there now that are getting wet. And I don't know how long they've been down there, over a month maybe.
No, they've been there about 4 weeks.
Okay.
They're coming to get them this week again.
So, once that corrugated gets wet, the fiber breaks down and it gets contaminated. And it's worth about half of what it was if it was dry, and maybe even less than half. Who's hauling the corrugated? Republic? And how much are they giving per ton? Nothing.
$100 a load. They'll pay them $100 to haul it.
Well, why don't we just throw it in the dumpster rather than bale it?
Required by
Because of
state
space.
law to recycle corrugated cardboard.
So Republic is hauling that for how much?
$100 a load.
And you're not getting any money for it. So, do you know what you're gonna get for it when it's dry? How much you get per ton?
It still costs me $100 to have it hauled.
Okay.
I don't get anything.
I think the recycling market, regardless now, back months ago in August and September in China, the recycling market has just dropped out.
If
You're
you
basically
have-
just recycling for state law and mandates than anything else. There's no market for it anymore.
I disagree. If you bale that and it's dry, you ought to be able to get somewhere between $80 and $120 a ton.
Yeah, what we've done, our contracts with the Republic.
And Republic Services is taking that and they're putting it in the landfill.
Yeah, that's,
It's got zero recyclability to it.
yeah.
It's worthless.
All I have to do is, the recycling part on my part, is Republic is using it for recycling. That's how my report goes to the state.
I have another question, it's changing from the cardboard. If we were to council was to decide to go with a compactor now, that would help your decision on what kind of truck to buy, because we could buy a truck to haul our own cans for the compactor. So that would help us out as far as deciding what kind of unit we need.
Can I make a suggestion? This is going to be a hot topic come next week. Can we discuss this? Would you be okay if we really get into the nitty-gritty during the retreat on
Yeah,
Tuesday?
I mean, if we can try to make some progress towards it.
I think we would like to, but I think we're all concerned about spending money now when we know in about 18 months it's going to be in a different location. We're hashing it out now. Why don't we wait till the retreat on Tuesday and see what we can come up with?
Will you be at the retreat, Robert?
Yes, sir.
He will for the utilities, we can have him there for part of the discussion
So,
on the garbage.
Between now and then, can you get a price on having GDS, or Republic Services, put 2 dumpsters there, and them hauling them? If it's 5 days a week, so be it. Just get a price on what it's gonna cost per haul.
Now, you do know Republic only comes up here twice a week.
No.
That's all they come up here.
Okay, so then what if we took that larger container that we have, that the metal furniture and all that stuff goes in, the recycled metal? What if we got rid of that and put a 40-yard can there?
I think I'll see what I come up with for you for Monday.
Also figure out if we buy a compactor and we set it up here and then we have to move it, what the expense would be in moving and setting it up and moving it.
I don't think buying a compact, I mean, again, we can look at the numbers, but I don't think buying a compactor now is gonna be the solution.
Well, that's what I want to know. I
But
just
we
would
need to-
like
we
all
need to
the,
look at our
all the
options.
information.
But I think that depending on the value that you get from the container that has the metal in it, look at maybe moving that, and or, you know, if these other sites have 11 cans and we have 4, you know, maybe we could position the cans a little differently and get a 40-yard container rather than a 20 or a 30.
I'll talk to Republic.
Let's talk about it at the retreat on Tuesday. And if you have any other suggestions, I would highly recommend you get together with Tim and Robert so you can bring up all that stuff that you're talking about now so that you can be ready for the meeting on Tuesday.
So can you get some prices on either, you take, when you, at your earliest convenience, if you could take, and I can't tell, I'm asking, I'm not telling. If provided it's okay with Tim, is that look at our current setup, see if we can either get 2 more cans in it and what it would cost through Republic, and or if they're only coming up here 2 days a week, I mean, still having 2 cans is gonna help. It's gonna have you know, more capacity for our garbage. And then also look at removing the metal container and putting a 30-yard container there.
I'll see what I can.
And get a price on that. And then we need to also look at some numbers on, if we get a compactor, you know, what's it gonna cost for the pad, the wiring, any additional expense? And let's weigh this thing out and try to make a decision in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I'll see what I can get from Republic.
All right.
Thank you, Rob.
One other comment just about, and what I will talk about next week in more detail. There's also been a lot of talk, or some discussion about what to do with commercial waste. We're having a lot of commercial waste, and really the commercial should be handling itself. And so
Right.
that might need to be part of the discussion
Yes.
on the restaurants, the businesses, taking dumpsters back and taking it. I'm not talking about maybe like a one-man insurance shop or something, one-person shop, but restaurants and things of that nature, you know, maybe we shouldn't be in the commercial business anymore.
Okay.
Well,
And
that's an issue too.
At what point did the resort start bringing their garbage to us and no longer feel that?
It was about 2 years ago. Was it a year?
Yeah. I mean, and Widener's always talking about we need to do more and more for the resort. You don't think this problem that you're seeing that is exacerbated by the fact that all of that waste is now being brought to our community dump?
I think that anyone.
So you don't think that we're, you don't think
Give me
we're
a second,
supporting
I'll
the
answer your
dump?
question. I'll answer your question. And I've said this all along. Any restaurant that we have on Beach Mountain should have, and I think Jimmy and I had this conversation, or maybe I had it with your father, is that's a part of doing business.
Which one doesn't?
That's a part of doing business.
Which one doesn't?
Resort.
Other than the resort, that's what I'm saying. Which restaurant on the mountain doesn't have its own
Any of them.
dumpster?
They all do.
They all do.
They all
Huh?
do.
They all have their own dumpster.
You got your own dumpster?
Fred's up in the Beach Mountain Grill,
Yeah, Beach
Beach
Mountain Grill.
Mountain Grill would be your
But
only
you know
one.
what? If we,
That's the only
hey,
one.
I'm not gonna show, hey, even though I volunteered to resort, I've expressed my opinion for the resort also. So you're not gonna see me play favoritism, so
But
don't
no,
go
I
down
mean,
that road.
you always want to bring up that we need to do more, we need to do more. We're doing a hell of a lot right there.
Okay, then.
And that is, there needs to be some kind of acknowledgement on your part that has increased dramatically the amount. And that they still, I still maintain they're doing a fantastic job dealing with it. And again, you could line the dumpsters to Banner Elk. We're gonna fill them at peak weekends.
All
And if
right,
we can't haul them off, we can't haul them off.
All right,
all right.
thank you, Robert, thank you.
We'll talk
Tim,
about
thank
it
you.
at the retreat. You should come on Tuesday to the retreat. It should be a really interesting meeting. Barry, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Barry.
I don't want to touch the subject.
Carl, anything else?
I hate that we got sidetracked on this because my thinkings for comments more were driven by the passing of Vern and me remembering the town I grew up in, where there was much more communal aspect to our community than I'm feeling right now. And yeah, it made me smile, just some of the other family boys that we got into, the way that this town raised us. And it frustrates me when I leave here that, the discourse has to be this way, and that we think that in any way we're not serving your interests, or that the town's not, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. And clearly when I disagree, I'm going to tell you. But part of this leads to a little bit of a loss of, we all want to talk about the magic of Beach Mountain, but the more we're at each other's throats, the more you can't be willing to see that everyone is trying to pull in the right direction, and honest disagreements are okay. I feel like we lose a little bit of what makes us who we are. But, Tim, I miss your dad. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Okay, thanks, Carl. The last thing, I don't have any comments, believe it or not. The last thing we have is what's new to our agenda from last month. We have public comments regarding the agenda items only. And if there's anybody in the audience that wants to come up and speak about any of the agenda items that we have talked about, you're more than welcome to do that. Is there anybody that would like to do that at this time? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Everybody moves, everybody seconds.
Let Gary move. All right, thank you.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.